What is up, lovers of budget cars and bikes? Welcome back to another winter video for 2020. It's February, the back end of February, sorry, I tell a lie, it's actually January. It's almost February, and it's the best day so far this month, I think. So I thought I'd pop out and show you what will no doubt be the cheapest budget car in this series. Well, I say that. I don't think I'm going to find much cheaper than this. I'll obviously tell you the price in a minute, or I might even put it in the description. I'm not quite sure yet. But anyway, if you've seen the other video I did on the other Toyota Yaris, I thought, well, screw it, let's get an old girl, same car, Toyota Yaris, and see what the differences are. I mean, they're not really comparable, if we're honest, because one was a 2013 hybrid and this, not so much. I saw these when I was out in Greece, actually, when I was living out in Greece. I think these first came out in 1999 or thereabouts. And they were actually a nice little funky car at the time. I'm not quite sure of the age group of the people watching this, but if you remember in 1999, there wasn't a huge amount of exciting cars out. And this came out, and it was a good, affordable, cheap little runaround. And it still is to this day, to be honest. It's the 1 litre petrol GS Toyota Yaris. Two-door coupe, again with the coupe. I don't know why I keep seemingly to find coupes. It's not a conscious decision, it's just one of those things. Very local, same village as me. I saw it on Facebook. It was, I'll tell you now, they wanted £500 for this car on the premise that they put a new MOT on it. So I said, look, I'll give you 400 quid with the new MOT, providing it passes, all that kind of stuff. You know, knowing full well that if it did fail, I might be able to do it myself, some of the work, depending on what it was, of course. You know, if it was brake discs or anything like that, I would have done it myself. Turns out it did pass. One advisory was the exhaust hanger, one side of the exhaust hanger, which is underneath here somewhere, broken off. But the other side, I had to look underneath. The other side's still holding it up. So, you know, the exhaust is in good condition. So, you know, I'm not going to change that because I don't really think it needs doing desperately now. It was only a minor advisory. But to be honest, parts for this car are so ridiculously cheap. If you did want to do it, I priced one up on eBay. It was 35 quid for the whole section from here through to here, including the back box. 35 quid. You can't argue with that, can you really? So if somebody wanted to do it, they could carry on. I have done some work on it. I mean, it had incredibly yellow lights, much the same as my mother's Toyota RAV4 has. It's probably something to do with the lacquer they put on the lights at the factory. Now they're a bit old. So I did exactly what I did with my mother's to get it through the MOT. I polished them up. Oddly enough, it didn't get picked up by the MOT station, which is a bit weird because my mother's did, but as you can see, they've come up. I didn't do an incredible job, if I'm honest. It's better than it was, kind of thing, you know. I mean, how far do you go with one of these cars? I did also take the windscreen wipers off, the actual blades themselves here, the arms rather, and I sanded them down and I resprayed them, as you can see, because they were incredibly rusty, like really, really bad. But now with some of that black amorite in a spray can that I kind of advocating at the moment because I think it's really good stuff, I just did those, and I put some new wiper blades on as well because they were $1.99 each blade from Traeger Mills. So that was £4 basically. It cost me to make the windscreen wipers look a hell of a lot better than they did. As I said, I polished the lights. I've just given it a bit of a wash, and now you can see the little kind of blemishes here and there. I think from experience that somebody has tried to wet and dry a bit of old bird poo off there but didn't polish it back. I'm going to try to see if I can get that off later on with some cutting compound on a drill, with a, you know, the applicator thing you put on the drill, as is that one there, and I think that should come out as well. There was that's not a scratch per se. There are obviously marks all over this car, a couple on the bumper. The rear valance here is probably the ugliest part of the car to an extent, because as you can see, it's all dented and bumped because obviously there's no parking sensors on here whatsoever. But the good news is they're only about 20 quid. They're held on with 2 bolts. Just the lower part here is held on with a couple of bolts. So if you can find a silver one, you can just unbolt it, put the other one back on again, or you might have to spray it. What else? It's got the original wheel trims as well. I was going to buy some new ones because they're only about 12 quid for a set, but to be honest, I can't be bothered. I just don't think it's worth throwing money at this car. The biggest dent actually is probably that one there, which is obviously a car park thingy there, and there's a bit of rust here which I might treat that and dab a little bit of touch-up paint on there as well. Tyres, brilliant tyres, as you can see, all round, past the MOT, as I said, with one small advisory. Great tyre there as well, that's brilliant, isn't it? So I've got nothing to worry about there. The biggest pain in the arse thing on this car is somebody obviously is a supporter of Plymouth Argyle Football Club, and they decided in their infinite wisdom that they would scratch PAFC into the bonnet of the car. So that was nice. Thanks for that, guys, whoever did that. You know, you're a legend. There's not much I can do about that. That's right into the paint. As you can see, it's starting to rust now as well. Again, I went onto eBay. You can buy a bonnet for 50 quid. The kicker on that is it's 50 quid to post it. In the same colour, of course. So for 100 quid, you could get that looking perfect again, and you could, say for 125 quid, you could get that rear valance done and the bonnet done, and then you're just looking at some polishing, basically. And if we stand back, I mean, it's not a bad little car, is it, really, for the money? You have to throw 100 quid at it and it would look a lot better. Maybe, should we say 150 quid? Because that way you can give it a really good polish, get some new wheel trims on there, get a new bonnet, get a rear valance, and, you know, if you wanted to, as I said, for 150 quid, you could make that car look a hell of a lot nicer, I think. But it doesn't look terrible now. Now, as I said, the girl that had this, young girl, upgrading, obviously this was her first car, she wanted 500 quid, I offered her 400 quid, then I found out about the advisory, and I said, well, look, the exhaust is only 35 quid, shall we call it 375 and I'll take it today? And she said, look, forget about it, don't worry, 350 quid, I'm happy with that. So I said, okay, fair enough then, thank you very much, brilliant negotiations. So it cost me 350 quid, as I said, the cheapest budget car we've had on the series so far, and I think you'll agree, 350 quid with a 12-month MOT, virtually new tyres, I would say. I mean, look, they look literally brand new to me, these tyres. Maybe not that one so much, but the front ones look brand spanking new. And all right, the bodywork does need some work, but for 350 quid, and as I said, if you threw 150 quid at this car, it would look a hell of a lot better. You know, get those lights polished properly, get a new bonnet, get a rear valance, get some new wheel trims. Happy days. You know, it's got 12-month MOT. So for 500 quid, you've got a funky little car, 1 litre petrol, so super economical. 145 quid a year road tax, I think, is on here. And as I said, for a first timer, you know, 1 litre petrol, cheap insurance, cheap tax, cheap everything pretty much. Parts, piece of piss cheap. Brilliant, you know, for 500 quid, I'd say. Now, the other thing is, you may have picked this up already, but check out that number plate. Brilliant if your name's Laura, isn't it? Hey? Or a Valentino Rossi fan, you know, W46, why not? I actually went online to find out how much the plate's worth. They valued it at 650 quid. So, again, 500 quid, the plate's worth 650 quid. You can't lose, can you really? And bearing in mind, I only paid 350 for this, so I'm happy. I'm going to sell it, obviously. It's a stopgap car for me. It was local. I needed a car for a few weeks. I've had it for a few weeks. I've done some work. I've given it an oil and filter change. I've changed the air filter, the cabin filter, the spark plugs. I've changed all those as well because it is a 2000, this car, so it's 20 years old and there's no service history. So I thought, right, okay, screw this. New wipers, new plugs, new filters, new oil, everything else. The tyres are great, obviously. New MOT. You know exactly where you are with this now. And obviously chain driven, so nothing to worry about there. Great, brilliant. 400 quid it owes me right at this second in time. Just under, I'd say, 370 something quid, something like that. So I'm going to put it up at 500 quid, no offers, because, as I said, that number plate's worth 650 quid. So, you know, effectively, if you've got a young girl who's just passed her test and her name's Laura, you're laughing, aren't you, really? Because, you know, 500 quid, she's buying the number plate and getting a free car. That's the way I'm going to advertise it. I'm not obviously looking to make any money out of it. I'll put it up at 500 quid. I'll probably take 400 for it because I just want my money back, you know. And it's been a nice little experience. Now, talking about the experience of it, it's not a bad little drive, to be honest. It's gutless as hell. Of course it is. It's a 1 litre petrol, for God's sake, that is 20 years old. I have changed, as I said, all the filters and plugs to see if I could get a little bit more life back in that engine, but I don't think it's going to really help that much. But at least I know that when I sell this on, we'll have a look at the engine while we're here. I know when I sell this on, it's up together, you know. One of the things that's slightly annoying is the door strap down there. It doesn't seem to work anymore, so as you can see, the door opens incredibly wide. Let's have a look at the inside actually while we've got the door open. As you can see, I mean, bearing in mind this is 20 years old, this little Toyota, and it's all right, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Little 5-speed manual, everything inside there is incredibly clean. Now, unlike an Audi, a BMW, and even some Mercedes. None of the plastics have faded. None of the plastics have chips, like that peeling shit you get on the BMWs, especially. By now, I mean, I've seen 2008 BMWs where the switchgear here is all peeling and horrible, and the steering wheel's all peeling and horrible. But this, no, everything's perfectly fine. I will show you one weird little thing as well, which they tended to do this back in the 90s and the 80s, I guess, is that dash. Let me just turn that radio down. That dash there, it's got this kind of weird thing. It's a digital dash, obviously, but it's got this weird thing where it's kind of magnified, so it makes it look like it's much further away than it is. But it's obviously all just like here. I think that's kind of funky, really. It's all right. There's no problem with that. It's got everything you need on there. Fuel, as you can see, I'm running out. Miles per hour, rev counter. There's no lights on here. You can actually one of these things, and I really wish they do this on more cars, is the fact that you can change this. If you watch the big zero up here, you can change that from kilometers to miles per hour by the turn of a switch. That is brilliant. I really wish more cars would do that because it would be bloody useful. And I don't understand why they don't. Little CD player. I have just noticed that it looks like somebody at some point, I imagine this bit here is actually supposed to fit on the outside of this aperture here, and someone's just kind of jammed it in there because this doesn't look like it fits. None of this here. It looks like someone's taken this out for whatever reason and jammed it back in, and it's not fitting too well, and I only just noticed it now, but I don't care, I'm not going to worry about it. Funky little glove box as well, the way that opens up doubly there, so you've got a little kind of hatch up here, and then you've got the larger one just down there. Electric windows, as I said, 5-speed manual. It's a bit grubby, guys, I do apologise for that, but it's got rear fogs as well, as you'd expect. Let me get those keys out. I don't want to lock myself out now, do I? The rear, again, it's okay. It's a bit grubby. What I was going to do, and I may still, depending on how quickly it sells, these little bits here, I might steam clean the seats just to make them just that little bit nicer. The doors, they're fine, I might steam clean the steering wheel as well, because as you can see, that's probably never been done. So I might do that. I mean, I've got a steam cleaner, so there's no real excuse not to do that. And those seats would come up beautifully then. And that's the other thing as well. For a two-door coupe, the door shuts incredibly softly. That real nice thunk that you get with much more expensive cars. Normally on cheap little cars, bear with me one-handed here. Normally on cheap little cars, they tend to clack and clang. Right, so the 1 litre petrol engine from Toyota. It's all right. It's got a few cobwebs in there, but as I said, I've just put a new air filter in there. I changed all the plugs. Someone's changed the coil pack on that side just there at some point because it's different to all the rest. It's a bit of rust here and there. It's 20 years old, guys, but at the end of the day, it's fine. It runs. It starts every single time on the button, as I would always expect a Toyota to. I've got a lot of time for Toyotas. If you've seen my review on the Celica, you'll know that I really like that. My mother's actually got a RAV4, an old RAV4, same year actually as this, which I might actually do a review on if anybody's interested in that, because she's had that for 10 years and I've driven that car to Greece and back in that time, and I've never had a problem with it, apart from she spent a lot of money on that car because it's an old girl and it needed it, rear what do you call them, bearings, wheel bearings, new clutch, that kind of stuff, which, yes, the way she drives, she's 75, what can I tell you? But generally speaking, it's never really given her any headaches. It's never not started, put it that way. And this one here is probably going to be exactly the same. It's 20 years old, and as long as you change the filters, change the oil, keep it serviced, keep it topped up, the fluids wherever you need it, it'll go on for another bloody 20 years, And as I said, I think at 500 quid, this is a bargain, because the number plate's worth 650, and it's got a 12-month MOT, and it's just had a mini service, including new plugs and filters and oil. So happy days with that. You won't see this probably now until just after spring, I wouldn't think, because I've got a lot of stuff coming up. And the only reason I'm really selling this now is because I'm off to see a car on Sunday, which I'm probably going to buy if it's any good, which is another Japanese car. So look out for that one. It's something a little bit different, a 4x4. So as I said, keep an eye out rather for that one. If you've got any questions about this one at all, if you own one, if you like them, you hate them, whatever, shove it all in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, then do so. And if you could give the video a thumbs up if you like it, that always helps a little bit as well. Try not to be too mean by putting thumbs downs, because that always upsets me. I shouldn't do that, because I shouldn't say that rather, because you'll probably do it now just to piss me off. Anyway, I'm going to take this little girl home now, and I'm going to try and polish out that bird poo and a couple of the other little marks. As I said, I'm not going to bother trying to find a bonnet and a rear valance for it. I'll sell it for what it owes me, and I think some little girl called Laura, see, there you go, there's another plate. I think some young girl called Laura, who's looking for their first little runabout car, she's going to bite my hand off of this, or Daddy's going to bite my hand off of this, and it'll go on to somebody who's going to use it for a year or two before they upgrade to something else. And I bet you, whoever buys this will be able to sell it on for 500 quid in 2 years' time, you know, as long as it's got an MOT. Happy days, eh? Cheap little runabouts. 350 quid, shall we say 375 quid with the service I've done, because even the spark plugs were only a tenner. I mean, good God, the air filter was, I think that was a fiver. I had some 530 oil, so all I had to do was buy a £6 oil filter. So happy days, you know, I serviced this car, and I serviced it well for 25 quid or thereabouts. Anyway, as I said, if you haven't subscribed, then do so. Look out for some new content, and if you've got anything to say about this, drop it in the comments section and give it a thumbs up if you would. That would help a lot. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care. See you soon.